Michael, can you start the recording, please?
Yes, did.
Perfect. Sorry. So, hello everyone. This is the February DSC Community call, and I'll go straight into the agenda. We've got quite a bit of content to go through today. If PowerPoint wants to go to the next slide. There we go. And so we're just going to give you a quick update on what's happening with the new continuous delivery and the automation. We are going to, there were some questions raised, I actually can't remember by whom, maybe it was you, Daniel, about what do we do with resources without maintainers and resources that have not yet been converted to continuous delivery, and what the stance should be, what should we do about it, should we do anything about it. And then the conferences are coming up, so we have a few questions about stickers. What kind of stickers would you like? So obviously there would be the standard hexagonal one, as the logo you can see. But we want maybe another one where it's a bit more explicit for people who don't know this new logo. So we'll get into that. Raymond, and if he's joined, we're going to cover that today. Otherwise, we may cover that another day. But automated, like Raymond Andre and Jan-Hendrik Peters actually created a DSC workshop that they presented a few times, and they're actually delivering this workshop, and they're presenting it at PS Summit North America for this conference. And they want to actually rehome it under the DSC community. So they wanted to ask the community's opinion for that. And we will share with you some of these upcoming DSC community sessions. Actually, I forgot to double check with Michael if it was okay for me to share what we discussed.
Yeah, no problem.
Cool. And then if anyone's got a question for the community, you can raise it when we get to the end of this content. And then after that, Johan's going to present DSC resource doc generator, because that's pretty new from the latest DSC community call. So quick update, and fill me in because I'm probably going to miss some things. But for the continuous delivery, obviously, like quite a few repositories have been converted already. There's only, I believe, no, there's more than 3. There's 4 at least that have been finished since the last community call. And we've also updated this. So when we update the continuous delivery, most of the time it's just transparent because we're updating the sampler module, and automatically whenever there's a build, it will use the latest version. And some others need to some updates and some tweaks into the YAML files. And actually, Johan's going to cover that with doc generator. But all in all, we've also updated and improved the steps on the documentation. So if you go onto this link, you can find the latest and greatest version of the documentation. If you have any issue, as always, just come and Slack, ask a question, and we'll help you out. Since the last time, we've improved the tasks. So if you define the code coverage threshold in your YAML file, the build.yaml, you can just bypass it completely, so it's much quicker to run the tests. And you can also use that as a parameter to the build.ps1. If you have any question around that, again, feel free to ask the question, or we can just go on the Slack and then we can discuss that. And DSC resource code generator, this is something new. We used to have it before we moved, and then it had to be rewritten for this new version, and that's been done by Johan mainly, I believe. So he's going to present that towards the end. So far,
Should be doc generator.
Yeah, why did I? Sorry, my bad. So it's not code generator, it's doc generator. That would be too great, like writing the DSC resource for yourself. Maybe I was wishful thinking, I'd say. So, so far we've got all these DSC resources already converted. That means if you want to get them released, it's pretty easy. And those ones already have been released. I will share the versions next slide. But since the last DSC community call, we've updated update services DSC, and that's been brought up to HQRM, computer management DSC, X system security, and X Exchange. Am I missing any, or that's the one that's been finished? So X Exchange, I believe, hasn't been released. It's only been pre-released, but I checked, and the master branch is already all set up. So it's just a matter of releasing the new pre-release, and then it will all be good. Is that correct?
You're missing one, Gail.
Which one?
X remote desktop session host.
Oh yeah, you're right. That's true. Sorry, because that was really early after the last call. I forgot that one. So yes, that's another one. I will add it to the list. Thank you, Daniel.
Which one did you mean?
So the X Exchange is not released yet, but is
Okay.
I think it's not. It's a pre-release, but it's not release. It's not a main release. That's what I meant. But yes. So the one Daniel just mentioned. So X Remote Desktop. Can't remember the full name. Anyway, that one's been released, and I will add it to the meeting notes. So there's still work in progress for Active Directory CS DSC, and literally we just finished Update Services DSC yesterday, I think. So we'll see which one we do next. But
Exchange has been released on January 27th.
Okay, it's been released actually. Okay, sorry, my bad. I thought that was only a pre-release. And so I don't know which one we should do next. If you have, and we'll cover that, but if you have things you want to see released, like you're really using and you want to see released as soon as possible, obviously make yourself known. So that is the released since the last community call. That's more or less true because I didn't really check specifically the date, but it's pretty much everything that's been released since the 15th of January. And so SharePoint DSC, and I put the preview because if you see there's a preview like this, it would be really good if you can just try it out. So then if there's anything that doesn't work the way you want it, then let us know. So before we do a main release, we can actually update it. So on the left are the DSC resource. On the right is just the modules we're using to build the DSC resource to manage the documentation or to test, or also like the analyzer rules. So pretty much everything there has been released pretty recently. If there's things that you really want to see released, let us know. Obviously, if you need help converting your modules, let us know as well. So one of the big questions that we have is, what if there's no maintainer to a resource and it can't be updated to the new continuous delivery process? It can't really be released anymore. So the question is, do people care about those resources? If they do, then what do we do about it? Should we just archive the repository, or should we just wait for someone to pick it up? What's people's opinion on that? Ryan, if it's you, I can't hear you.
Have you got any that are particularly that you know have got no maintainers?
We've got a list, but I don't have it with me right now, I'm afraid.
Yeah, because I was thinking around things like Hyper-V, the X Hyper-V one. There's a lot of people using it, and there's a lot of changes going in, but it hasn't been updated. So there's those high priority ones which I reckon do need to be updated, but we don't have necessarily have an active maintainer doing that. Whereas you've got a bunch that you might, the things like X Firefox, where there's not a lot of activity in them anyway. Maybe there's some value in prioritizing those so that the people like me and Johan and other maintainers who've done this before can move on to those once we've got all the other ones that they're more done. Like, because I can do all the ones I'm storage and certificates and so on, but there's the once I've completed all those, I'll probably have time to then start looking at those other ones. But it'll be good to have a priority list.
Yep, agreed. And I believe the best priority is consumption. So if like not looking at just downloads, because that doesn't really help. More about the people in the community that are active in the community somehow, that actually wants to see something released and improved. So if you are using a resource that is not ready to be released, so it hasn't been actually, if you can't see it in the list down there, just go on the issue list of that repository, and then if there's not one already, just create a new issue and say, please upgrade it to the new CD automation, and then put a thumbs up, and we will see how many people put thumbs up on each repository. So then we will see which one we need to prioritize. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds good.
And the ones that we will see without any activity, and you took the example of X Firefox, like just I haven't checked that one, but just taking this one as an example. If no one is using it, no one is complaining about it, that means people are happy with the current version. So we will leave the version in the PS gallery, but maybe after some time we will, I don't know, maybe archive the repository if no one is using it, or maybe we should just like leave it there, like just letting aside. We currently don't have a maintainer for this one, so it won't get released. If you want, here's the things you need to do before we can release a new version, which is converting to the new CD automation.
As long as we put a note on the README that makes it really clear, like so that people don't submit a pull request or an issue and then expect to get a response back and then be angry that nothing happens.
Yep. Yeah, sounds good. So if that's okay with everyone, we'll see what we can do. We'll first need to see how many people actually are interested into which DSC resource.
Is it worthwhile just putting together a GitHub group of maintainers across all of these modules?
There's one already. So if it depends what you mean by a GitHub group, but within the DSC community organization, you have different groups, and there's one which is at DSC Community/maintainers, and that is all the maintainers through the DSC community that we have.
Okay.
And I believe you can go into the DSC community organization on GitHub, and then I believe you can communicate. I don't know if it's restricted of members of the organization. That might be. In that case, I would suggest someone to come on the Slack channel and then tell us what you would like to share, and then we can share it internally. I can't remember if it's open or not.
I pasted a link in the chat window, so if someone can't access that to see the members, let us know.
Yeah, so there's a difference between seeing the members, because some may want to see private.
I get a 404 on that because I'm not in the maintainers group.
Okay, so that's why it's restricted. But maybe you can actually ask the question within an issue on the DSC community website as an example. So Ryan, I will talk to you offline at some point, and then we will try a few things. Okay?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, so I'll move on to the next one. It's very similar, resources not yet updated. So what to do about resources that have a maintainer, but the update to the continuous delivery process is not proceeding. So again, I would say, like, if you care about that resource, you should probably try to update it. You don't have to be a maintainer to contribute. And actually, we have quite a few people, and I think about Bill, I think Simon might be a maintainer, actually, I can't remember. But a few people have really helped pushing this and contributing to, starting the work and then trying to get some help. Like, I'm not too sure about how doing this. They just reached out. We help them, and then know like some of these modules are ready to be released on the new system. So please try to submit a PR if you want, like, just try to transform it. And if you have any issue, ask us, we can help out. You can also ask the maintainers kindly, if they've got some time, they could try to change to that new automation. Like, maintainers sometimes just want a bit of a push, a very nice push to say, hey, I care about the work you're doing. Do you have some time to do a bit more work, or can I help you, or something like this? Just try to ask them if they have time to do more releases. And if you have any other options, let me know. Especially probably some people are going to the PowerShell North America or the PowerShell conference. It's a very good time to meet some maintainers and try to ask them, like, how can you help? Or then pay them a beer if you like the work. Like, do something about it. Just make yourself known. Is there anything we should be doing I'm not thinking of? for those. I'm trying to go through some of the maintainers and then suggest, can you please try, or do you have time to try? But otherwise, I don't know. Is there anything we should do?
Might be an idea to make at least some noise on Twitter around this, that, hey, this is up for grabs. So, well, tell us if you want to contribute.
Good idea. So you mean helping like this, like tweeting about the modules to be updated? Yeah,
exactly. And also, well, really being clear about that we're open for any contributions.
Yeah. We should tell Bartek as well to do it. Sorry, I'm just taking notes. There we go. Thank you. And all right, so we'll tweet about it. We can ask it. Maybe we should also have like a list of things left to do, so then people can tick them off or like volunteer. Someone wanted to say something? No. All right, I'll skip next. Stickers, what everyone is there for. So the idea is currently, like, we know the logo because we kind of voted for it, but we want to make sure the DSC community is actually known a bit more outside of, you know, the closed cycle, which is not closed, but like the little cycle we are. So because there's a few events coming up, there's the P Summit in a couple of, a few weeks, 3 weeks. And then there will be the PS Summit, there will be PS Config, there will be the MMS Summit. So we want to make sure people associate the logo with DSC. So we created on the DSC community, dsccommunity.org repository, an RFC, as we've done before, just to say, okay, this is the kind of stickers you'd like to see, so then you can share with everyone, like this is the DSC logo, and then some text to make sure everyone knows what it is. So you don't have to answer now, but you can go onto that RFC and then do a thumbs up or thumbs down on the ones you like. And if you feel good enough to submit something, feel free like just to try. I did those ones in 20 minutes because I'm really bad at it, but please try and like share like all the designs you want. If you want to put maybe the DSC name under, if you want to have another ways to put some text, feel free to create a logo and suggest it on RFC. There's a deadline because we want to be able to print them, so we're probably going to use Sticker Mule, and we need to get them delivered before the beginning of MVP Summit, so we can share with many MVPs around the world. So I think the deadline I've set is for the 10th of March, so please get on it quickly. Raymond, are you around? Otherwise, I'm going to skip.
I'm around, yeah.
All right, take on.
Okay. Thanks to the work that Gail did a couple of years ago, creating the project called Datum and the DSC Infra Sample project, we jumped on and improved what Gail has created and have kind of a blueprint how we think it is the best way to start a DSC project nowadays, including an enhanced configuration management, a robust build pipeline that works locally and in most build systems that we've seen nowadays, integrates also reporting, of course works for Azure as well as for the on-prem scenarios. And we are extending this project on, and the next thing we are working on is parallel builds. So we have one customer with about 35,000 nodes at the moment, and building all the MOF file takes almost a week. So parallelization is important here, which is almost ready. We are trying to implement some diagnostics that you can remotely diagnostic a DSC endpoint. So I think this project is kind of a summary of the best practices that we have learned over the last 2 to 3 years. And we think it is in the wrong spot. So automated lab is a solution to create lab environments, but has not necessarily something to do with DSC. And this is why we think the project could be even better if it is in the community, in the DSC community space. And if more people are joining us and also sharing their best practices, that we then can integrate as a community in this project.
Yeah, so just to give a bit of context for people who don't know you, who are you? Who do you work for?
I'm a PFE in Germany working for Microsoft.
Okay,
yeah,
so
maybe I can give a little bit of context as well before you step in, Gail. So Gail and I and a couple of other people from the community, we met as the PSConf Europe in 2017. And Jan Hendrik, a colleague of mine, and myself, we have presented our great work that we have done for BMW. We got also the approval from BMW to present the work there. And the feedback was awesome, except the feedback of Gail and two other guys who said that what we have built looks quite nice, but it's not flexible enough and not scalable. And at some point in time, we are going to run into problems. And this is where we got in touch with many people from the DSC community and wanted to create something that is more like a DSC product than a framework, because DSC, as it is documented and as it works, looks more like a framework and needs to have some tooling around to make it really useful. That's the context from my side.
Yeah, so the question here is, Raymond suggests that the DSC Workshop that used to be under the Automated Lab organization actually move under the DSC Community. And along with this workshop, there's a bunch of composite resources that are used by this and to move them along as well. So the first question to the community is, does that make sense to move that into DSC Community? And I would like to emphasize one thing is, it's I would call it, it's not the best way to do DSC. It's one way to consume DSC resources when you use DSC extensively for configuration management. There's many other ways to use DSC and to use DSC resource, but this is one way of doing, let's say, config management purely with DSC. Let's call it like this, which doesn't have to be that way.
So to throw a slight spanner in the works, we've also got what Ian Brighton's done with Lability, which is similar works to this, which I've been doing a lot of work recently at Black Marble, doing some work on that.
I think it would be the same.
You and I, Gail, let's have a chat about this in a bit more depth.
We can take that offline. Just a suggestion. And so I haven't talked to Jan. So Jan Brighton is the guy who actually wrote Lability initially, and then many people in the community contributed. The thing is, Lability in itself makes sense to be into its own organization, and if they want to move it, that's another question, but they didn't suggest it. But the question is, at the moment, the question is just for the DSC workshop. That's just what I'm saying. So maybe we can just do the same thing. We don't have to discuss it now, unless you have questions to Raymond because he's online, or to others.
Yeah, don't mix it up, please. It has nothing to do with Automated Lab. It is purely something that is focusing on DSC, on config management, on DSC reporting, on just how to start a DSC project, right? And this is why we think it's in the wrong spot, and we want to get it out of there and move it to somewhere else.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's because it's not about Automated Lab. It's about DSC.
Yes, I think it sounds like a great idea to move it to the DSC community. I'm all for it. So you have my vote at least.
All right.
Okay.
If there's no objection, then we're probably gonna chat a bit more offline, probably on the Slack channel as well. But if there's no objection, then we will give Raymond the go-ahead. But otherwise, if you have any question, if you're not too sure, just go and chat to us. I just don't want to stop there because we've got quite a few other contents there. Thank you, Raymond.
Thank you, Gail.
And upcoming DSC community sessions, and back to you. So these are the ones I've seen, which I've just checked today. PowerShell Summit North America, so 27th and 30th of April. This has not been announced, and I'm sorry, I've put it there. I probably shouldn't have. But Michael is probably doing Is DSC Dead? and we'll see if that happens.
We'll submit the session.
We'll
submit the session proposal. Yeah.
Exactly. Michael will submit the session proposal. And
we can very safely say that.
Exactly. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't think that too much, but yeah, I just quickly crammed that in today. And that one I'm sure. So reverse DSC, extract DSC configuration from existing environments. Nick is doing it. Nick is online. Are you? It's probably muted. All right. So Nick's presenting that, and Raymond's presenting actually the DSC workshop, I believe, which is the DSC project blueprint, how to start DSC project the right way. Raymond, that's correct?
That's correct, yeah.
So what are you going to present quickly in one sentence?
In one sentence, just we're presenting the GitHub project and how to work around all the shortcomings that DSC has with community-based tooling.
Okay, that's perfect. Bartek is presenting at the PowerShell Conference EU, so 2-5 June, authoring class-based DSC resources, not from the fields. I will really try to attend that session, so then we can definitely listen about it. And I have questions for Bartek. Bartek, are you online?
Yeah, I hope my microphone works fine this time around.
Perfect.
Good.
So tell us about this session.
It's actually going to be a slight modification of what I did for the PowerShell Saturday in Paris the other day. So basically, it's going to be so for those of you that didn't attend, which is probably most of you, the main meat of this one is well, at work we use mainly DSC resources. We on top of obviously the community resources, DSC resources we author, and we author all of them in classes. So this is about how to write them, how to make this writing efficient, how to test those DSC resources afterwards. And yeah, also like I want to start up with like, why would you even consider creating DSC resources? So basically give people kind of incentive. Okay, maybe sometimes it's not a good idea to start with creating. Maybe you should look around first, just look up GitHub, look up the community repo, look up the gallery. But yeah, generally it's just kind of the road to getting the things that you miss in the community or what have you described.
Okay, sweet. That sounds interesting. And if you want to write a draft of what's the best way the DSC community should write their class-based resource, then I would really like it. Just saying.
Well, but I don't think I'm the only person that actually does that. So maybe it's good to ask a few other people. But yeah, definitely I can write down what we consider together with Daniel. Both we can write it down because we are actually working on it together. Obviously, we are doing it. It's not just something I do. It's something we do, and then we can just share our experience with this because we definitely have like I didn't make a count, but we have plenty of those resources. So. It's something we do daily almost, and maybe not changing resources, but whenever we see need for that, we always go for okay, let's create a resource for that.
Perfect. You could even present it during the next DSC community call, for instance. Maybe a shortened version, but
okay.
One of the next DSC community call, whenever you.
Maybe the next one is not the best one, but yeah, I definitely wouldn't mind that. So we can maybe just talk that offline and then come up with the time and place.
Sounds great. And the next talk will be PSConf EU, is DSC dead? So it will be very similar content with the one Michael is doing or is submitting for PowerShell Summit North America. I will work with Michael to make sure we have very similar content, although that might be slightly different because, well, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But the idea is DSC dead? And we will try to cover what happened within the DSC community, what happened outside of the pure old style DSC, I would say, like outside 5.1, what's happening with PowerShell 7, what happened with the RFC, and how far we got at the moment, and also covering the future, which is guest configuration. That's for Michael during those conferences to tell us all about it. So, do you have any questions before we get to doc generator? Anyone? All right. So the next call is Wednesday, 8th of April. I just put that as a reminder. I don't know if I will be around at that time, but I will try. Otherwise, anyway, there will be everyone else, I guess. And now, Johan, if you want to take DSC Resource Doc Generator, tell us all about it.
Yes. In the old DSC resource test repo, in the old, I'm not sure if you should call it the pipeline, but the way we did it before, we had help functions that generated documentation. These have now been, or some have been moved to a new module called Doc Generator. So we have two commandlets, public commandlets, one that creates a conceptual help for MOF DC resources. We have another that Yorick created just a few days ago that generates a wiki documentation. It actually outputs the documentation to markdown files that can be uploaded to the GitHub repository. And what we're missing here is the task that actually uploads it, but we come to that later. Next slide, please.
Sorry, I just pressed it. There we go.
Yes. Oh, previous one. So we have some of the tasks, the two tasks that actually is kind of a wrapper for the previous commandlets. We have generate conceptual help and generate wiki content. These are the ones that we are using in the pipeline. So next. So the aliases here is for invoke build to actually help to find these build tasks. And these aliases points to each script file. This is just a workaround to actually be possible to export the build tasks.
It's the way invoke build works to discover and load other tasks, external tasks. Yeah. So do you want to share your screen?
Yeah, I can share my screen.
Probably need to stop. You've done it. Yeah, perfect.
You see the screen? Yeah.
I can.
So
see the screen, but is it just me or is it echoey for everybody else?
Is it echoing?
Cackly.
Not for me.
Yeah.
I'm getting the stat. There is a bit of static on it.
I can hear the static here too, so probably comes from somewhere else. So anyway, we have first step is to use this DSC resource doc generator is to add it to the required modules, and we use the latest version here. And of course, once we add it to required modules, we have to resolve dependencies, and I already did that, so we don't have to wait for that.
Can you make your screen bigger, please?
Okay. The
Control plus. Yeah.
Is it,
one more. There we go. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So I already resolved the dependencies, so we don't have to wait for that. So the way, since we did added the aliases, the way they are loaded are by adding this row, these two rows to the build YAML file. When we run build, the build PS1 file actually sees this and starts to import everything that starts with task dot. So this is essentially load both these tasks.
So just to clarify, it will just import the module DSC resource.doc generator, and then it will tell invoke build to dot source to some extent the tasks that are exported by this module.
Yeah.
So if you want to have your custom tasks, you can do the same way.
Exactly. And then we add the task to the build task here. So these are the 2 tasks we added. So when we run this, should complete in just a few seconds. So it says here it's skipping some of the resource because it doesn't have any README file. So for this to work, each resource must have a README file here. And in this case, we only have this. And the same is for, so this is generate conceptual help, the build task, and this is for generate wiki content. The both can handle that there are no README files or actually examples too. So it will pick up this README file, it will pick up the examples in here. So these examples, and this is output the conceptual help here. So by writing get help about X cluster, take a few seconds for it to find it, and here we go. So we have the conceptual help here with the text, with the parameters that it finds from the MOF file. So this is the README file we saw here. Parameters coming from the MOF file, and the examples are in order as they are listed here. That's why we have a prefix number 1, 2, 3, so to get them in the right order, if that's necessary. And in this case, we also created wiki content. So to show it beautiful here. So the same here, it takes the parameter from the MOF file, having the description from the MOF file, the README, and all the examples. And this can then be uploaded to the GitHub repository wiki, which is the manual step for now. So
Awesome.
Yeah. That's the 2 tasks. If you can share the last slide there, please.
Yeah.
That's awesome stuff. Hey, which resources have been updated to use the new doc generator? Do you know? Is SharePoint gone?
SharePoint, I think it's Yorick merged it into the preview, and I had just added this text file over cluster, but I haven't sent in the PR yet. So it's actually only SharePoint DSC, I think. It's pretty new. Just
Very
merged
new.
it, just merged it a few days ago. So.
But keep an eye on it. Just make sure people can use it very easily. So it will be a matter of making sure you've got the right README files, and then you update your build.yaml with on the required modules.psd1, and then you will be able to generate this content automatically.
Yeah, so because all of mine have been waiting, if they've been sort of previously used the old doc generation, so I was just waiting to make sure we sort of had this new one up to date. So you guys reckon it's ready to start loading into those resources?
Yes, I think awesome. Try it and report any problems.
All right,
so,
I'll do that.
Yorick actually created it for SharePoint DSC, so I think it should. If the old one worked, it probably works for you too.
Awesome, cool.
Yeah. So what we couldn't make in the last with the DSC resources tests repo in the old ways, we couldn't publish it automatically, but we can actually do that now because we have the GitHub token in the pipeline. So there, Simon has created code in the old repo, has put the link in there, and also the link to the PR where he had added some information a long time ago, probably a year ago now. At that time, he built that, but we could never use it without manual steps. So if someone could please port that to the doc generator as well as a task, it would be awesome. So we could get this fully automatic. And of course, these tasks only support MOF resources. Sorry. So if we want to support class-based resources, please send in the PR to resolve that. And if you have,
yeah, sorry, just saying, if using AST, you can look at a class and then find the metadata within the class using the decorators. Forgot the name. Sorry, never mind.
Hey, there was one thought is, should we be publishing wiki content for previews or just for the final releases?
I would suggest final releases.
Cool.
But it's up to the maintainer. But for me personally, it feels like
yep,
full release.
Yes, I would agree with that.
And if the community have any more suggestion to what we can add, what kind of documentation we can add, please send PRs in.
Yep.
So,
any questions? No more questions? Just remember, the next call is on the 8th of April. If you have any questions or anything, always, we're quite active on the Slack channel. And feel free to reach us. And if you want, like if you're a maintainer and you want to convert a module, but you're not sure where to start, or you need a bit help or whatever, feel free to reach out. We're really happy to help you. And then if we need to improve the process because you're finding it like it's a bit too clunky or something, just let us know and we can try to work it out. The most difficult thing, I believe, and tell me if I'm wrong, it's usually to make sure the tests, well, not even talking about the integration tests, because that depends on the Azure DevOps image you're using, but it's about making sure to adapt the unit tests to maybe the new ways, which is just a matter of changing the headers and things like this. But that can be, if you have lots of tests, that can take some time. But otherwise, it's, I don't know, I would say it's pretty straightforward. It's just following the documentation. There's quite a few things to make sure your repository is really well organized, but once it's like this, then it goes like you just have to go through each test, and then that's pretty solid when it's done. And then you can release every day, multiple times a day, if you wish to. So the benefits is great. If there's no other question, there's no need to keep that call going. No questions. In that case, Michael, you can stop the recording.